Ulonka tabati yada to ye ko madaifa. Inu to ye ko je lo baby pa. Oba tala, oba takutakun. Zongo eshu, ogun oya osun. Kini sheshe, tan she nile yo. O jelo jara.
Alafia, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Arisha Bami, and today we have on a very special guest, a first-time guest, and something that is going to kind of fulfill one of our most requests, which would be to bring in more feminine energy. So the stars aligned, the divine aligned, and we've been blessed to bring in a very divine goddess to come to these Ashe streets, man, to speak to us about all things feminine energy, balance, healing, visions, spirituality, business, supermodeling, all kind of different things we got in store for y'all tonight. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the African Spirituality Experience, Empress, is it H.P.S? H.P.S, Empress,
Yeah.
Yamaya, Faye.
Yeah.
Welcome to the program. We
Yeah.
appreciate you.
I appreciate you, beloved, so much. Thank you so much for the warm greetings and welcome me into a sacred space. Okay. I appreciate that.
Ashe, it's an honor and a pleasure, man. We appreciate you for having us. We definitely appreciate you for having us. So let's just get right to it, man. With let's just start with your name. Like you have a very unique name, and I don't know if people know or not, but that's your actual name. So can you kind of start with us by just sharing like the message and the power behind the name of Yamaya?
Wow. Okay. So, Yamaya, let's just first give all divine gratitude to my ascended mother who just ascended this Mother's Day. Ashe to her. Oh, divine. Actually named me it's Jamaya, and she said Jamaya. She couldn't. She said, "Okay, what do you want?" They asked her, "What do you want to name your daughter?" And she's like, "I'm gonna put this together and this," and she said, "I came up with Jamaya," and she said, "I saw a movie." Now I from where and the likes. She can't remember the name of the movie, how it came about, but it was of this divine feminine. But it was some type of drama that she really found really close to her. Later in years, us being most people could not say Jamaica. They was Jamaica. They were calling me everything that you could think of, but Jamaica. And I was like, okay, listen, I am so tired of this. Where did my name come from? Where is the origin of this? How is And so I started, later in my years, I started researching my name and come to find out that the actual spelling of my name was with the Y. And my mother was like, yeah, I knew it was something to do with something. She totally was just like, this is what your name is, and that's just it, right? So I found out after going through different religious areas and venturing out and just looking into the name, researching certain things, and then oh my God, it's Yamaya. It's Jamaya, but it's Yamaya because there was no J in the time that the name was being developed and that sort of thing. And my mother was the one that actually said, okay, no, I want it to be a J. So she's the one that changed the name Yamaya to a J, because even the doctors then were saying, well, how do you want to spell it and how do you say it and all this other jazz, to only find out that, okay, as we know in Yoruba, this is Yamoja. And then you have all the different breakdowns of how to spell this deity's name, which happens to be a lot of what I read and got to enter and understand was a part of my life that I was walking out that I didn't even enter and understand at that time. And then my last name, Faye. Well, that's Senegalese. That name Faye is not so known around or not so often used in the US, from what I enter and understand. It's not. And I'm like, well, why did you name me that? And my mother alluded to the fact that she named me after her oldest sister.
Mm,
And in those times, as you would know, all of the elders named the children. You know,
mm,
they typically put the elders' names into certain, parts of um, one's child's life, or we had these long sentences as names, right?
mm,
So I found out, okay, so I'm a Faye. My auntie is a Faye, and then when I start to travel, still henceforth because I was doing modeling and things of this sort, coming across the water, I realized more and more, wow, this name Faye has such a precedence um, as the Senegalese. This is tribal name. So when I would run into Africans, they'd be like, "Excuse me, your family? How do you get the name Faye?" And I'm because I was named Faye. I was named Faye. I just know my auntie is named Faye, and I'm the only other one that's named Faye.
mm,
Well, come to find out here recently, I was told that it was also that name was passed through an elder, like the
mm,
ones that transcended. So, okay, where did they get the name from? So here I am with a name that is attached to Yoruba, as well as the Senegalese, and then you do all of the tracing of what this name means, both of the names together, and how powerful is that? One's that
mm,
deity water, that mama, and the other one is connecting all of the tribes, the Fae. So it's like,
mm,
okay,
mm.
yeah, when you don't have a purpose, but you have a purpose and it's written, it's
Hey,
on your birth certificate,
yeah,
you didn't make
yeah,
it up. It's,
yeah.
here it is.
I say,
Uh,
that's dope.
that,
That's dope. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. Now that's dope. And shout out to Professor Kaba, because he was on here. What's today? Wednesday? I think Monday. And his middle name, Hiawatha, also, if I'm not mistaken, means like to connect the tribes. And like I don't remember if it was Native American. I can't remember where it came from, but Hiawatha also means connect tribes. So now look, we got the masculine started out the week with connecting the tribes, and then now we got the feminine coming in with a name that actually means connecting the tribes, and we here with the Ashe tribe. So I feel like that's some divine synchronicity now. We got real divine balance with this going on today. For
this
real,
is
for real.
what I'm talking about. We need it. We
Yeah,
definitely need it.
yeah. And we got 70 people in the chat right now, and Emo Ja, her number is 7. So yeah, the alignment is aligning.
And when I do when we do our numerology and all that, I'm a 7. I'm a 777. It's you can't make certain things up. It's just how it is. It's kind of written in your cards, as you want to call it.
Mm, yes, sir. Yeah, nah, that's what's up, man. So now let's go into your gifts, because you have a lot of gifts. And before we do that, shout out to the Robinson Knights, man. I found out that you're a fellow Knight, so shout out to them RHS Knights in the building as well. So shout out to that, and yeah, that's what's up.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I baby, that's one of those things. I don't know if it's got a whole bunch of gifts. Now, oftentimes those gifts are misconstrued or we use them, in the wrong way. But
Mm-hmm.
atypically, that's how we learn. I would say first and foremost, being able to receive from source
Mm,
divinely, and not as a young girl, not really enter and understanding what that meant and
mm,
who was talking to.
mm,
So that would be the thing that I would say was number one with me, being able to hear the ancestors, those guides, those spirit guides that were actually telling you certain things that you ought not know, and being
mm,
able to relay that at such a young age to people that are external would be, and have them understand it at that time, understand it. And then for yourself to actually be able to enter and understand what it was that you were speaking of. How do you know these things? So having that gift or sight line to be able to hear from source, and being able to see certain things as well, being able to prophetically say certain things because you're an open channel. You're able to adapt and walk in spaces that most people would not really enter and understand or even choose to. So that's one of the biggest things that I would say has continued to help me expand, being able to just really quiet and listen to source. Now that I know that that's what that is, that's that source, that higher state of mind, that intercession beyond another realm. So
Mm.
yeah, most definitely. That's the biggest thing. Amongst all of the, the things that I would say are the physical aspects, being able to, do the modeling, designing, having that particular, those type of gifts. So that's how the business is actually, as I call it, the business, but life, purpose, and path is written out. We have create your own identity, in creation. We all like to create everything else, but we don't choose to create our own identity. We choose to allow other people to write the narrative. So that's
Mm.
something I learned being what we would call even the Bible, or religious purposes would say, the secular aspect. So being in
Mm-hmm.
fashion, that's where I got
Mm-hmm.
that create your own identity aspect. In divine balance came, but that's the spiritual side. You can't have one without the other. And it was something that I gathered more intel going through my own life, being in the fashion and image industry, and being around music and artists and that sort of thing. You really get to see who has self confidence, who really knows who they are, and who's not actually being programmed or having their narrative written for them. So it's kind of like that. It kind of spills out a little bit.
I say, no, I love that. Shout out to the tribe too, because we ain't even got into the conversation yet. They're like, yeah, we feeling this, we feeling the queen's presence, man. So this is definitely something which I knew it was going to be. From the first introduction, I knew that it was definitely some very powerful divine alignment, and I was looking forward to it. And here we are. So with that, you have some very special gifts. You did mention, I heard you say in regards to some of those gifts, you mentioned about like being someone who has the ability to be a seer and also have visions, and being, a person who was in alignment with being able to be kind of like that medium, to kind of be able to channel the messages and the information that comes from the realm of the ancestors. And this is a big ancestral home and house here, in Ashe, because I feel like ultimately it's all guided by the ancestors. Primarily, if you even look at the cover art, that's all specifically laid out to ancestors who I feel like personally, even though they weren't my blood ancestors, I feel like they
Yeah,
definitely are my, cultural, freedom fighter masquerader ancestors. So we definitely are a heavy ancestrally, involved here in these Ashe streets. But can you speak to, before we even go into that, the dress that you, or the
my
I don't know
connection.
what you call it. I don't want to call it the wrong thing.
Got my
Yeah,
captain. It's a
yeah.
yes.
It, loo-
When we
it
were
looks
out
comedic.
in, oh, most definitely, I got it in Aswan. We were out
Mm,
in Egypt and Kemet down the Nile for like 30 days. My heiress and myself, along with a tribe, a sacred tribe of women. So it was one of the pieces, and it's absolutely one of my favorite colors. So it's one of my Ashwan dresses that every time that it's kind of one of those things that because being in fashion was something
mm-hmm,
you you really get to see that because most people will put on a suit or a dress to make themselves up. However, what I realized by walking that walk is you actually make yourself up from the inside out. And
mm,
clothes are just the expression of that very thing that you already are. So most people can have, 5,000 in their pocket. Let's just say that compared to a person that maybe has 100. But yet and still, it's who they are that radiates. So you can in fashion, what I got to see, even designing clothes, because I design couture dresses, I would see women that could afford my couture dresses put them on and still not carry it with a certain essence. And then you could
mm,
see a woman that may not have that dress on, but walked and carried herself, her demeanor, her poise, her posture, all moved in that particular realm. And so when we speak about clothes, to me, that is a likeness of thyself. What are you representing? How are you
mm,
representing? This is how you choose to be represented because you are your biggest, billboard.
Hmm.
You are that.
Yeah.
So yes, this is one of my little I must say, I always say my little sacred dresses, but I feel so comfortable. I just, okay, I'm gonna walk around here, use my little sage, whatever in my garden, whatever it is that I'm doing. And I felt such a tight connection with, the different symbols that are on it, the colors, how they vibrate, what they mean. I mean, it's the throat chakra, the blue, it's royalty, it's, the
Hmm.
gold, all of this. It's an embodiment of that. So I got it
Mm.
from when I in Ashburn. You guys got to take a trip. You got to go out and
Yeah,
take a trip,
that's right.
learn some
And
different
y'all,
things.
oh yeah, I shame. And I believe if I'm not mistaken, y'all can click the link on the episode that we had last week with Master Your Seer, because we definitely are going in August, and I can't remember when the other one is
Okay.
to Kim, but and y'all can get it on Klarna too. So for those who might not be able to drop the whole thing at one time, you could drop the thing on Klarna, man, and pay on it overtime, and still come on it and make the trip. So we'll definitely be promoting
It's
that,
one.
going forward as well.
It's absolutely wonderful. I'll show you to the master teacher. You
Yeah,
sure? Most
yeah.
definitely. I do my kinetic yoga and all that as well. But yeah, we definitely recorded it as well. So on our YouTube channel, you'll see the sacred women going out, as well as just us recapping certain things and having a, more than just experience. It's touching with thy soul. If you're
Yeah.
called to it, then you're called to it. You walk through it, and then you get to expand your way through, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's a call. I love clothes. I
Yeah.
definitely love clothes. They're expression of me.
Mm.
However, I first start with thyself, my identity first. I have to be able to hold and sustain this regardless if I'm wearing this or not. You're going to
Mm.
get this same woman vibrating through. Now,
I
the,
know that.
the clothes are an extension of me. These are assets, these are accessories, like all of us can do. We can wear
Mhm.
accessories all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you. I love my
Yeah.
suit, baby. I love
Oh yeah. 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 That's tough. I'm a big Kemet guy. We heavy on Kemet here too. So it's definitely something that we have a
it.
I have a strong affinity for sure. And I'm all
I
for
tattooed
anything.
all the highlights on my arms, honey. I had
That's
to
what's
wait till
up.
I turned 47. I think it was 47 to then put it on my arms and my back and everything.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yes, sir.
it's
That's what's
true.
up. That's what's up. So when it comes to the spiritual
Mm,
journey, I know you spoke to me about like a lot of different things that you saw. Like you have the vision, the ability to I guess to me almost like time travel or just being a seer. And you were sharing with me how
mm,
you foresaw a lot of the things that are literally happening right now. Which kind of I guess motivated you to kind
mm,
of move to a different part of the planet because you saw what was going to be unfolding prophetically, before it unfolded. So, can you kind of share with us in regards to someone who does have a very strong gift of being a seer, someone who has a very strong gift of being very receptive to, receiving ancestral communications and ancestral messages, downloads, etc. Can you kind of share with
mhm.
us if there's been any like latest developments that you've been able to kind of pull down from either from spirit or just from your ability and your vision to be able to kind of see things that are unfolding or that are happening prior to them actually taking place?
Yeah, okay. So a lot of it's been 12 years now. I believe it's 12, yeah, about 12 years now. However, okay, so when you asked about my gifts, yeah, there's multiple gifts, and the biggest one is hearing from source.
Mm,
Hearing from source at such a young age, and then having to actually step out, regardless of what the other people were doing around you, and let's just say the particular authority figures in my life.
mm,
Um, I had to step out at a young age of 12, taking my brother and my best friend, and we would go to the different church homes or in religious houses, let's put it that way, religious
mm,
houses, and learn said things because I kept being told. I was waking up with this go out and sit here, and I was trying to figure out who these voices were. What was this voice about? Because they were actually telling me things that I should know, but they were very true. They were real things. So it could be something about my mother or a friend and I'm like, oh my God, who am I going to tell about this? Especially you raised in a Christian household or Baptist, about Pentecostal, Catholic, all these different things. And being in Washington, D.C., and in actually the area where there's multiple spiritual houses there, I was able to go and sit amongst them and learn. And that's what I kept hearing. Go sit, learn. And I'm like, okay, go sit, learn. Well, I would go and sit and learn. And then certain things would come to me and I would say them outwardly and I would get scolded for it. Because they're like, how the heck do you know this, young girl? Who do you think you are saying certain things? Da, 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 da. And so I started having an inner dialogue, and that's really what it was. It was having an inner dialogue with the higher self, and saying, listen, how is it that I'm able to move and go here, but they're telling me this or that? Let's say the religious houses are slightly separate and different. And I remember ending in one particular house, and I heard Source say, I'm not there. And I said, but you told me to come here. What do you mean you're not here? And I got a deeper understanding of how, we, as in most scriptures, it says you don't want to forsake the congregation. Yet and still, the congregation must enter and understand that they're first within self. They're first within self. So I kept hearing what I took then as the God source saying, I'm not in this house. Why aren't you in the house? I'm in you. And it struck me then. It was like I was the age of 12. It struck me then. I'm within you. And I went, oh, wow. Wait, huh? And it was like a concrete feeling, like a connection, something, a light bulb went on. Most people would say that it was connection, like, oh yeah, you are. Now look around this field, this congregation, and it started to allow. I should say that I started to allow myself to see that which was already within. A child with imagination. I'm a dreamer. We create. We do all these different things, and we're often told, "Okay, sit down somewhere because you talk too much, or you're fast, or you're this, or this sort of thing." Okay, you're creative. Let's oftentimes some of the special needs children, they put in special needs. Well, actually, they special for a reason. Let's just keep it 100. You slow. You real slow. Let's take that from a bite from Vicky Dillard. Slowness. Hello. You slow. That child is special for a reason, and it's up to us to enter and understand that. Take time to know that. But the biggest one is to know thyself. So that particular walk journey really just kind of start peeling back onions for me. And it was at a critical time that I was dealing with trauma, abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse. I was dealing with a whole lot of different things on the external that, of course, involved the internal. And then yet and still I was being told, go on this walk. But I had to be brave enough to go on the walk to find out that which was lying within me. So in that context, and it just kept evolving to get me to the case in point right now. And with having certain visions, if I got trained early, let's put it that way, because you're around people and you want to speak and say and share the things that you can hear within, and you actually see these things clear because it gets proven. It gets proven to a point that you keep testing the self. And you test it and you test it, and that's how you are proven. The very scriptures of most religious houses speak about that. That faith, walk by faith and not by sight. Oh, honey. Well, there you go. Here we go. Let's walk through this particular process. How do you walk through that? That's a day-to-day process. Yes, we can learn the scripture, honey, but actually walking out a scripture, walking out that sacred journey starts from
I think we might have had a little technical difficulty, family. I'm let me see if I can try to read.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I hear you now.
Let's just say yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, it
Okay,
had froze for a second, but we got you
it
back.
went
I
out
appreciate
for
it.
me.
Yep, but you back now. We hear you. We see you and hear you now. Oh, I did it again. All right, Tribe. Let me see if I can work through these technical difficulties real quick. This is stuff like this is what sometimes be holding us back from getting things going because of the technology. And so I'm gonna see if I can pull her out and pull her back in and hopefully get the get the equipment to act properly, man, because they ain't gonna mess up this download. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, I think okay, so I think they might be about to reboot and then come back in. So I'll uh I'll chop it up until we give it another shot to come back in because honestly that happened like right before we actually came on the air. The same thing happened. And then I think I'm not sure what she had to do on her end, but she was able to do like a reboot or come back into the into the studio by accident and coming back in. So yeah, I feel you, Supreme Elohim. Said the energy is too high, frequency is too high, but that's a real thing. Yeah, we definitely gonna push through it, family. And if y'all want to keep the comments going and throw some questions out there, I definitely catch them like a short stop in the World Series, man, until we get the Empress back up in this thing. I definitely don't got no problem with holding it down, flying solo, until she comes back in because this is something that does happen, unfortunately quite often. But we're dealing with machines, and then there is a huge elevation in the vibrational frequency on the planet. And shout out to the brother B-Dell 1014. He had a dope show tonight. I got to catch before I came on mine about the Atlanta. excuse me. Atlanta is Atlantis, and he was talking about a lot of this stuff too in regards to the energy. There's a whole lot of energy going on right now. It's a whole lot of powerful energy as well. Especially when you talk about like the grids and the ley lines, or anybody who's in certain particular areas in the globe, especially or even in America, in South America as well. There's a lot of elevated frequencies, a lot of elevated energy. Some people are going to sleep like feeling perfectly fine, and then wake up and got all kind of different like ailments and different back aches and just all kind of stuff, feeling lethargic, feeling cloudy. Like it's a lot. And I think depending on where you are in your journey and in like the whole totality of, where you are mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, all those things kind of tie into what's going on now. But when it comes to this energy, it's definitely something that's elevating and vibrating on a very, very high scale. And I'm hearing, as a matter of fact, Kaguo Kabiesi today is Oshe Shango Day in the Ifa spiritual tradition. And I could hear the thundering out where I'm at right now. It's getting loose a little bit. So I'm praying that, no, actually, I'm going to speak that my internet is going to stay clear while we get through this live stream. And we're going to get the Empress back in this thing as soon as we can kind of get through whatever technical difficulties we're battling through. But I appreciate y'all, coming through tonight. Again, family, we've been going heavy with these live streams, man, and the goal is to keep them coming too. So I got, let's see, tomorrow we probably won't have one, but I'm gonna definitely have, more content coming because what I've been doing is filming content that hasn't been live streamed based upon some of the guest schedules, but I still got some of that content that I'll be dropping later this week as well. And it looks like we have gotten the Empress back. Okay, here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, you look super clear again now. So I was just telling the tribe, like, we ain't gonna quit. We're gonna keep on pushing through because this happens. Unfortunately, it happens. It happens. So it ain't nothing new to me. So I just keep on going, until we get it all worked out and ironed out, and then we get back to it.
Most definitely, most definitely. I was at that point where I was mentioning the walk and being able to see your sight
Mm-hmm.
line,
Mm-hmm.
being able to see certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's say that's how it started as a young girl, let's say, and then turned into, adulthood, and you kind of just carry it all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And the depth, once you start something with yourself, you can't turn back. I mean, you can turn backwards, but you're going to hit a wall.
Mm-hmm.
So the depth of me being scared of this particular gift because it was getting backlash because I was speaking outwardly of what I was seeing, no matter what it was. So dealing with, as I said, abuse, molestation, different things like that, I can call forth certain things that I wasn't supposed to know, but
Mm-hmm.
I had to have the courage enough to be able to say and speak these things.
Mm.
And as I walked through the journey of whether for the self, entering, understanding my own self value, um, because you're told a lot of those different things that are of a negative connotation that would keep you suppressed. Um, the depth of that, though, is walking through and being able to say, okay, well, I may not have this or that, but I'm going to learn myself. I call it walking out your perfection. Most people say, okay, we're not perfect. I say we walk out our perfection, okay,
Mm-hmm.
because we
Mm-hmm.
catch up with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
When you align yourself, you allow yourself to catch up. So whatever gift you hold, that will expand, but it won't expand if you never test it out, try it,
Mm-hmm.
work through it, learn from mistakes, this sort of thing. So that aspect of myself was ringing true in every area, and I would just test it. And then I started to look around after, let's just say, moving from different places, because I was able to live in different places and parts of the U.S. And then later from Hawaii, and then we came back and we went into Florida. And then I decided, okay, well, I really want to embark more on this modeling journey, this sort of thing, which actually got me even more closer to myself and being able to observe others, because that which you've gone through and come out the other side, you can bear witness to other people going through it too. Or oftentimes you could be going through something and you can see another person, and oftentimes people end up battling that particular thing that they're going through externally on someone else because they haven't resolved it within themselves, which is more along that lines of healing that trauma, that sort of thing, which it it eludes, all of it is incumbent of itself. So walking in that in fashion world, I could see, ooh, well, this woman is not really self-confident at all. She's actually not confident. She's looking for somebody else to write the narrative. She's beautiful, but she doesn't know it. So I got to identify and see self-reflections. And then also being able to call those things forth over someone else that I had walked through. Now that's a learning process too. That's learning how to use your gift, but you have to step in those areas that are uncomfortable oftentimes. So I would say certain things to people, randomly. And of course, some of them want to put up their guards, like, excuse me, you don't know me, who, this sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But I had to test the gift. I had to test the gift. I had to see what this was that I was, what was bestowed upon me, and then why. Why
Mm.
am I going through all these severe things, and then I'm having this particular gift to say this, and people are not appreciating? They looking at me like I'm the one that needs to go to hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me. Uh,
Yeah.
so in the walk of coming back, and then even being able to teach other people that which you're not getting credit for.
Right.
And I see that within the fashion and image industry, which now we see more melanated, indigenous, black colors all over the place. When
Yeah.
I started doing that, wasn't so. I mean, it was one of us. You could only have one out of a whole group of people.
Yeah.
Um, so in that aspect, I had to learn how to keep stepping as well, but I learned my value. And henceforth, I left New York and came back to Florida. And it was in Florida that I started to end up teaching young ladies that were the farthest from my color spectrum or from the side of my culture. So I was
Mm.
teaching a whole lot of blonde, blue-eyed women how to be me. It's 100, because I had to learn everything from scratch
Mm.
to even be in this fashion industry, this image industry. And look at
Mm.
how reflective that is, because I could still see women that were dealing with, you know, God, so much trauma.
Yeah.
And how can I not enter and understand the trauma? I dealt with trauma.
Right.
What was I doing with my trauma? How was I
Right.
feeling? filtering it. But then I was able to call certain things forth and help mend with other women their particular issues that they were dealing with, because I allowed myself to go through, or as they would call it, be the test dummy, as they would call it. I allow myself to, let's just keep it 100. A lot of people have said to me, why are you choosing the hard road? I guess indirectly I choose the hard road.
Mm.
I can change it for the world now. But
Yeah.
being able to go through that allowed me to see a lot of things and call certain things forth, and you didn't realize that you were calling them for. You,
Mm.
you know what I mean?
Hmm.
No, that intuition even. I think I'm gonna go over here because something don't feel right over there, or
Right.
that person looks just a little too suspect. Let me go over
Hmm.
here. And
Hmm.
these very people or situations could be in your inter surroundings. So that's
Yeah.
family, friends, your community, this sort of thing. Well,
Yes.
why are you being so much like this? And when I started to hear more of that, that's when I realized, no, I think I need to keep looking outside.
Mm.
So the business aspect of creating your own identity is within divine balance outside of the box, because people
Mm.
were trying to put us in the box. Society, social society was putting us in the box, and then
Mm.
your own people are putting you in the box. So then you're smothering the gift, as they call,
Hmm.
quenching the spirit. Hello. And then your own self preservation in your own mind, you're trying to decipher through it. And then you're also quenching that particular gift and spirit.
Mm.
And I just got more bold in it. And sometimes, yes, I would land flat on my ass. Let's keep that 100.
As we all do sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Flat. But it was more the things that were coming to me like, okay, these people are telling you this, but it's actually that.
Yes.
And leading up to present and current day, or I would say 12 years um, prior, it was no, we have to go. I got to leave here. I was
Mm.
always one with, that was like, no, 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 let's go over here. Let's go outside. Why can't
Mm.
we go further? Why do we have to just stay in this one city? I don't understand.
Mm.
And the people next to me were saying, well, because this is what we do.
Mm.
This is how we roll, if you want to put it that way. This is how we roll. This is what we doing. Okay,
Yeah.
well that's great, but what else? Can't we do something else? No, that's for white people. Why
Listen.
is that for white people?
Listen. Look. I,
That's what we're living in right now. No,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's spilled over.
Yeah.
It's spilled over to that.
Yeah.
When you have corporate America, because I would go into corporate America as well, because okay, so the modeling brought me back. I started to teach a lot of Fortune 500 parents, their children, their daughters, how to basically etiquette, do their hair, their makeup, this, that, to walk on a runway, this sort of thing for companies. And in that particular walk, what I got to see was a whole bunch of women eh, throwing their kids, or young teens into my classes, which also taught me the value of myself and my gift, and how, why are you getting crumbs when you should be getting more than enough? This sort of thing. So that taught me the value. Then it taught me the value on the other side, as far as the inner workings. I wasn't just sitting there teaching these young ladies how to walk, talk, and act, this sort of thing. I was um, giving them an instructional blueprint for life, how to be able to stand up and show up for yourself, walk out and, take on your own bullshit, take on your own things, and be able to still present yourself with quality. And that spirit that had nothing to do with hair, makeup, and this sort of thing. And so, in that essence, I learned the value of thyself. Oh, I'm valuable. I clearly must be valuable, because these people are sending their children to me. And at that time, when you look at money or think about money, you're like, wait a minute, they're blonde, blue eyes, got money. They can go anywhere they want to, but they trying to get their children into me. So I realized I was teaching other women's children how to be like, no, you don't need to do that. You need to do that. This sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it came in the appearance of a physicality, which made me respect now the physicality that I was given. Because
Mm.
here's this 6'2", young girl, that was taller beyond her age, that it was abused. You feel
Mm,
me? It was
mm,
abused. It was talked about. Oh, you're a giraffe. Okay, now if you call me a giraffe now, and I'm like, I'm cute. Damn, this back then
listen,
that was like a punishment. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Let
That's
me ask
what
you
it is.
this, because I've dealt with some of that, and I remember because I was born up north, and I remember when I moved down here, when I moved down south to Florida. As soon as I started in school, I think it was in like middle school, a lot of other students would say I talk like a white boy. I'm like, man, I don't talk like a white boy. I like these hands ain't got white boy hands either. But and unfortunately, I got into a lot of tussles, man, growing up because of some of the same thing though. But and I didn't realize why I was so angry, like why I had a chip on my shoulder, why I used to like really go to violence quick before like being able to think my
Mm,
way through situations, and it came from trauma, it came from pain, growing up that I didn't know. And I didn't realize where all that trauma and pain came from until I wrote my first book. And then when I wrote that book, Tips, Taking Initiative, Producing Success, I remember when I wrote that book, I had to time travel back to my childhood to kind of go
there you
through
go.
weaving the stories together, throughout the book. And then that's when the light bulb went off for me as to where a lot of that anger and that rage came from. So that gave me the opportunity then to kind of look at how to do the shadow work and how to deal with it so I can move forward, and try to eliminate having that short wick, that short fuse, and being ready to, go left when I should go right. But I wanted to ask you something because you said a lot, and you shared a lot of wisdom. But one of the things that I see, excuse me, especially with women, with men too, but women, is like how do you, or I should say, how would you, because you do consulting and you do like coaching and all that, for clients as well. How would you share for men and women for that matter to like overcome like self-limiting beliefs or overcoming like subconsciousness and you know what I mean, like not having confidence in yourself of who and what you are. Kind of like when they would say things like a giraffe or whatever the foolishness they were saying to you was like, yeah, whatever. I'm, what I'm saying, I know I'm still that, what I'm saying, I'm still that queen, like whatever y'all talking about. How do you like, what did you do and how did you do that? Because I don't think a lot of people have the ability to do so. And I think a lot of us, unfortunately, at times we allow other people's perspective or opinion of us to affect us. And so for me, even growing up, I've always been really skinny as a kid growing up. And I remember like at the pool, I ain't had no problem coming out the shirt because I was like you, I was confident in who and what I was and the skin that I'm in. So I'm like, I don't care. Like, that didn't matter to me, but everybody is not able to deal with things like that. And some people it does have an effect, and some people it does, like make them feel some type of way about themselves because of what other people think or say. So with you being
Mhm,
someone who's dealt with some, some of that foolishness, but you still, pushed through, fought through, and still rose to the success that you've accomplished, how would you
mhm,
suggest that people who may not be able to handle those types of situations to kind of push through, or what tools or what strategies would you give people to help them to not allow how other people might say or talk about them or how other people might feel about them to affect them?
mm. There's so many vast ways to go about that, and it is one being able to, you know, there's this one thing that I used to do often. I used to play. You remember the camcorders, the big
Yeah,
old
yeah,
camcorders?
yeah.
We had camcorder in the house.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That was for family vacations, all that good jazz, right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
used to take that camcorder and go in the mirror and go in and out, zoom in, and I would talk to myself going in and out. I didn't
Hmm,
realize that I was doing mirror work then, as well as doing some chef. I really didn't. It was like, go look at yourself.
right.
Why are these people talking to you, talking about you, and what are they saying about you? Do you
Hmm,
see that?
hmm,
Well, and so I would do a lot of this, playing with the camera in the self. The other thing, I was a writer. I would write down my feelings, and I would also sketch and draw. I needed some type of funnel. I believe most people will need some type of funnel to help them move through their particular problem, or I shouldn't even call it a problem. It's a situation, and it can be, actually, it doesn't have to become a problem. It's based on your perception of that. So it's actually you getting and sitting with the self, taking that time to assess that which you're thinking. So, okay, if you're hearing somebody always call you X, Y, and Z, you really have to stop and look at that and go, well, okay, why are they calling me this? And is this true? Because you could be tall and skinny. Yeah, okay, so how does that make you feel? You know what I mean? That you
Mhm.
could be that,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
own it.
Yeah.
This is a part of you owning your own totality, owning that, which is I understand because it's words that flow off my mouth, right? It's the depth that it's flowing off my mouth because I had to do it, regardless if it was hard. It's like owning your own bullshit. Own yourself. You have to step in front of yourself and see yourself every day. So I would ask that person to take their time to look at their self. Like, don't just get up and look in the mirror. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
really sit yourself in that mirror,
Yeah.
assess thyself. Okay, now how do you feel about yourself? Because that is the biggest key right there. How you feel about yourself, not how other people feel about you.
Hmm.
Essentially, that becomes a part of your day-to-day operations or thing that you want to be close to because it may be somebody you love or you want to have that affection or this sort of thing. But the biggest thing is how you feel about yourself. So if I allowed all of the negative um, aspects of people saying and using that manipulation to resonate within myself to a point where I couldn't decipher who was actually speaking to me, because that's the powerful thing right there, is who's in your ear. Who's the person that's in your ear? But the depth is they're in your ear, but you're in yourself. Where your mind at? Where's that at? Simple practices is you sitting with yourself in front of the mirror. You actually supping with yourself, taking yourself out. Today's time, you're dating yourself. My goodness, do something for thyself. Look at the self. This you chose to come in this creation. You chose to be in this earthly suit. You're resonating in there. So, how are you using that which you bestowed upon yourself? Now, everybody else external of you, they're going to give you their opinion, their perspective of you. And it's up to you to actually take that, chew it, what is that? Few words of, understanding. Give them something that you can chew on. If you can't have meat, suck on that milk until you can get that body strong enough internally, externally, that you'll be able to move forward. So a lot of what I tell a lot of people, and it's customized to the self. That's why I say create your own identity in divine balance, the way you choose to, because it's you. You're the archetype for yourself. We may get certain aspects and characteristics from our mom, our dad, this sort of thing. But the valid point is you being able to eat of it and navigate your way through. So sit with the self, take some meditation time, and it's going to purge you. It's definitely going to purge you. Uh, Take that intuition that's coming to you and move forward on it. Try something completely different, okay. And I mean, it could be something small, your routine as you go to work this way, try going work this way. I mean, do something that is just completely different just so you can start to open that box within self, that you can free yourself, because liberation comes and starts from within. Externally is the actions that happen. So journaling, meditation, mirror work, which it's going to go a little deeper. Maybe you'll need some assistance with that. Sitting in nature. I started doing a lot of different things that people would call weird at one time. Now the collective consciousness is getting into that realm where they enter and understand that this is just a casing. The real source is that which it lies within. So that's how I would tell people, and I've told people to kind of navigate yourself that way, beloved.
Mm.
You got to be able to face yourself, and that was the biggest thing that I had to do. I had to face myself, the
Mm.
roles that I played in negative situations or positive situations. I had to face thyself. Okay,
Mm.
you did that, and the more I did that, it allowed me to get a balance within my internal, that I
Mm.
wouldn't take on somebody else's bullshit. I would own
Mm.
my own, operate through it, and be able to thus far move forward,
Mm.
which only helps your gifts. Your sight line gets even better because you're first focusing on yourself, but in a different way, because most people, we all just think exterior, you know?
Yeah, that's real. No, I love it, man. And I think that's one of the things that I feel like us as a people have to like develop in regards to the connectivity to the creator, right? Someone who
Sure.
like being in the line of work of being a healer and being someone who, does coaching or healing work as well. One of my most, no, I don't say one of the most, the most common, the most common theme in regards to any session that I have, especially when it has to deal with anyone with healing or spirituality, is to trust your intuition. Like you have to
Mm,
trust that because to me, the intuition is like our GPS, right? So I remember in that same book I was talking about earlier, tips. I remember writing about the GPS, right? And GPS, I've kind of created my own acronym for goals precede success. But in
I,
any GPS system, like the navigation system or whatever in the car, if I'm coming and driving to, let's just say they got a big event going on in Atlanta this weekend, in Stone Mountain, I think. So let's say if I'm driving to Atlanta, I'm not gonna just drive, like blindfolded without trying to use my GPS and my technology. I'm gonna put the address in and I'm gonna go there, right? So I wholeheartedly feel like our intuition is the same thing. Like the intuition is not gonna steer you in the wrong direction. And I know for myself personally, there's different levels of volume in which these thoughts or these communication downloads come in, and when they're at a certain volume, I don't care how like far off it seems or weird or crazy or whatever. I have to go with it because I know it's never let me down before. That's always
mm,
been my, my North Star. That's always been my GPS to get me from where I am to where I'm trying to be. So with
mm,
you, someone who it sounds like you were tapped in to your gifts at a very, very early age, from your perspective,
mm,
how important is it for us to be able to trust our intuition? And
mm,
also, what are some things that we can do to establish a fundamental foundation of how to kind of like cultivate and nourish that intuition?
mm, mm. You're most definitely right, because okay, listen, the depth of even being so connected so early, it also meant that you were also in a war, a spiritual war, sooner than many, even those that might have been your authority figure. You feel me?
Oh yeah.
Um, and the depth of it is you actually walking the walk. You
Mm,
can't. There's no other way for you to actually acquire that which you need for your own journey, if in any aspect, if you don't walk your walk.
mm,
You have to walk your walk. So that part of facing the self, I realized in the journey too, I was afraid of my gift.
mm,
I was afraid of my gift. I was afraid of being looked at, because I was taught that you're a spectacle. I mean, even the Bible says that you're a spectacle, and then you get people taking the interpretation and they will use that on you. So the depth is, first, I had to kind of gird myself up enough to walk. I had to walk by myself. Most people are afraid to walk by themselves. Well, you came in this world by yourself. The depth of it. You came in by yourself, honey. Okay, so you need to walk your walk. You need to step through that by yourself. And most people want to take everybody with them. The depth of that. You can't.
mm-mm.
People come alongside of you, but you can't
Yes.
take everybody with you, even when it's good. You
Yes.
can't take everybody with you. You have
Yes.
to have that lane for yourself first. So yes, I would have liked to have been able to talk to, my authority figures and say, okay, well, look, this is what I'm doing. They only had so much knowledge themselves, because they didn't allow themselves. Let's just say, when we speak about generational curses, even and cutting the cords, and we're talking about like the mentality, mediocrity.
Yes.
What secrets are you holding from yourself? Because
Yes.
you developed that within your family.
Hmm.
Everybody keeping a secret. The depth of that. So us being able to first just be able, just strong enough to show up for yourself. That's number one.
Mm.
You can't listen. You can't put the cart before the horse. You've heard that one, right? You
Yeah.
can't do that leap down on yourself. You can try, but you're going to end up falling back.
Yes.
As they say, you're okay. You're going to take these 2 steps forward. You're going to these steps back. Well, at least if you fall back, pick up the lessons, baby. Pick up the
Yep.
tools and
Yep.
carry that tool into the next journey.
I say.
Okay, journey. People tend to think that journeys expand a length of time. You literally can go in a journey literally in one moment.
Mm.
That because it starts in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So it's us getting hold of that. Tap back into your creativity. I don't care what it is you're doing, whether it's mixing music, or it's art, it's designing, it's this. This is a part of us that was taken from self as young children, and they're doing it now.
Yeah.
Let's just put it.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
doing it now. Just give you something artificial. We at least we could go outside, jump rope, play tag, climb the roof. You know,
Yeah.
these particular things. Now we have to be even more creative with how we internalize and externalize and move in our gifts. So how do you know you have a gift? Well,
Mm.
it's that very thing that keeps coming up, regardless if you're trying to do something with it or not. When you wanted to sit down, I believe that the the highest point of my gift came when I was just like, oh, listen, I'm tired. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of trying to tell people or I'm trying to be good. And this is enough. I'm done. But then the gift just kept making room for me. Like,
The gift kept
I know you're trying to
gift kept
sit in
gifting. Hey, get that. Go ahead and get that. Get that gift. You gotta get that gift now.
trying to sit over there incognito. We're having your little coffee, though, baby. Sorry, no, I'm gonna send this soul right to you. Gone right here. No, you can't avoid them. You get that. How you gonna do that? You can't stop thyself. You can't. And once you own it, that's what I mean, because it can be a good thing or a bad thing. Once you own your totality, baby, that means you work through all this bullshit you done. You've worked through it. And once you start owning it, you're allowing space for yourself. I always tell the ladies, and several times I would do invite women in and feed them and this sort of thing. And we were, edifying women basically. Um, and I would say, we're gardens, beloved. We're freaking gardens. Tend to your own garden first before you try to tend to hers. What you doing? Take care of thyself first. And then once you build up such a harvest, you'll be able to feed people from your harvest. Your cup will runneth over. All these different things that we actually get to hear, whether people use them in a negative way or positive, you still heard. It's up to you to do something with what you heard. It's up to you to decide how you're going to move. It is up to you. It may not seem like that because you have authority figures in different levels of your life. But the biggest authority you have is yourself. Stand on your square, be seated on your throne, hello, and rule from the mind.
Mm.
It is the biggest thing that's attractive right now, right? It's visually, it's always been there.
Yeah.
To gain people's attention, to gain people's mind, to be access to their portal.
Yes.
So I would say tap into yourself, regardless of it. I know maybe you've done certain things and you don't feel like you're worthy of it. And that was the walk. Even for
Yeah.
myself, I had to go through the walk. I had to go to that door that people told me I could not go to that door. Why the hell are you telling me I can't go to this door?
Yeah.
What's behind the door? Have you gone through this door?
Listen.
Have you
Listen.
gone through this door? So
Listen.
what have you done in that door?
Yeah.
So I should be able to listen to what you've gone through because we can learn in different ways. We can learn by going through, we can learn by bearing witness, and we can
Yeah.
learn by actually creating that thing.
Yeah.
So I should be able to listen to what you said and move forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take the good things. It's what I tell my daughter. And listen, baby, watch my walk. Bear witness, honey. Highs, lows, in between. You take what is good for you that serves you on
Yeah.
your journey. Take it,
Yes.
pocket it. Don't
Mm.
use all of them at once, baby.
Mm.
Just take them out
Mm.
like you got a machete.
Yeah.
Take them out. Use it when you need it.
Yeah.
Put it
Yeah.
back. This sort
Mm.
of thing. But again, I still say you always have to start with yourself.
Mm,
Use yourself, your own life as a canvas.
mm.
Create your own life as a canvas.
I love that answer. And I want to chime in because we got and tribe y'all please give me some grace because it's a challenge to keep up with the comments, but I keep them coming because that's a beautiful challenge that I'm grateful to have. But shout out to
Oh,
the brother Spencer Clark because he put something up, and there's a bunch more that I definitely want to get to as many as I can. But this is so real right here, like that. I love like him putting that there
mhm.
because that's real. That ego thing that is a very to me, I look at it almost like a doggone bomb, with the timer going off. It's only a matter of time before it explodes to become to like really blow up and F up some shit. You know what I mean? Because no, seriously though, because I've experienced. I know you. I know you've experienced it. Coming from where you came from in the modeling industry, I know you experienced it. I experienced it as a ball player. Like seriously, like
Yes,
I experienced that in high school, like from coaches. Like seriously, like that I was hating because of what I'm saying, my girlfriend. Like first of all, you're a pedophile first and foremost. Second of all, like what I'm saying, like so I know based off of your walk of life, you've dealt with a lot of that, and even like with doing speaking, public speaking, or that
yes,
podcast or whatever there's certain
yes.
people that um I know I'm not gonna align with because they have ego. And I don't have an ego and I don't care about none of that because I'm here to do the work. I don't care about nothing else. I'm gonna do the work and the work gonna speak because I know how much I put into the work. But some people, just like my boy Spencer said, and I appreciate you, bro, ego driven. Like that is a
Mm,
very, very, very I feel like almost like Russian roulette liability behavior. Is there
mhm,
anything that you can kind of
mhm.
share with us to for those who might have a challenge with that, for those who might not want to see other people succeed or might not want to be, what I'm saying, embracing or supportive when other people are winning? Because that happens a lot. And I know you've experienced it. And unfortunately, especially you mentioned earlier when you talk about certain situations like this, you mentioned family and you mentioned people who are
Oh,
close, in your close circle. So how would you share with us, because you got a wealth of wisdom and I appreciate you sharing it with us, how would you share for us in the tribe who haven't dealt with it or haven't learned to dealing with people who have major, massive egos?
okay. No, that's major. What he said. That's one of those things we hear about often. Um, but I'm gonna say something to challenge the thought process on the ego. Okay. I see two sides of that. Well, actually, there's three sides, and there's two sides of this ego thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the ego is given to protect and service us. It's what we choose to do with the ego, or how we choose to allow the ego to move. Okay, ego. What is ego actually? What is it? Why is it there? I say it's there to protect and service us, but it's how we perceive the ego. It's a characteristic, right? So we all have it. We all have it because you have to have what we call, when we tap into the fight or flight, right? You got to be able to like buck up if something's going on physically. You still have to do the same thing in the spiritual realm too. The depth is most of us don't walk in a capacity with understanding of how to use our ego.
Mm.
It's in our DNA. That's how it. Okay, it's just real. Even if you're doing it to yourself, honey,
You're giving a cheat
you in
code out.
you in the gym. You like, yeah, this is good. I need to do this, blah, blah, blah. But whatever intensive purpose you're doing it for. Some people go in there because I need to do this for health. I need to be, you know, uh, in a place or space where I can move. So I need to build these muscles. Others were like, okay, well, I need to build those muscles and I want to catch that girl over there. Somebody else is, oh, I want to build these muscles. I need it for health. And you know what? This actually look good on me. I feel good when I feel, a certain weight. I know I do. At a certain weight, I feel good. What is that actually? That's my ego, no? What is that?
Yeah.
Who is that? What
Mhm.
side of that is that of me?
Yeah.
So now it's this brings us into the state of like it's there given to us to protect and to service us, to help motivate us to go and move faster, right?
Hmm.
The depth is we have to be able to balance those two. We have to be able to balance them. Okay, so first start with the self. We always coming back to self first.
Hmm.
Are you balancing yourself? Now, Then when you look external of you and you see somebody rocking in their ego, okay, now how you dealing with that person?
Mm,
How are you dealing with that person?
mm,
Are you having that empathy on the side of looking at that person like they have no idea?
mm.
You know, that whole saying, we can go into the scripture. We can go,
I just had to say
because,
that the other night on the podcast because people were talking crazy. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you have
yeah,
no idea.
with them, but they know not what they do or say. It's okay. We all learn in our own time, in our own way, right? Their own
Mhm.
season. So let them have it. The depth of if them going deeper into that ego state where now they're trying to offend you or trying to mess with your particular gift. Now you can either do a couple things. I've had to do three of what I'm about to say. I've
Yeah,
had to do three
gotta
where
be careful.
sometimes it's straight spiritual. When you go in that quiet space, you take your time. You're calculated in your intentions,
Mm,
your move, and then all of a sudden, certain doors are made for you.
mm,
Other times, I've presented thyself with no words, just in being.
mm.
The depth of just being already shows that you have confidence. I don't have to do anything else, but just be that light. So then that moves any interaction. As I said before, you can even go try to tell somebody something good and they might want to buck you. They want to fight
Yeah,
because they ain't ready for that.
yeah,
Then you have to deal with the other side of that is you have to put action to it. So
mm,
somebody using a particular ego, and I wouldn't even say that that would be that person's ego. I would say that's that person's weakness being shown and
yeah,
displayed.
yeah,
They they have to buck up to you because you're just being something.
yeah,
Their ego is out of balance completely.
yeah.
What's the ego doing for them?
Hmm.
No, that's their ignorance. They're moving in their ignorance, their lack of having wisdom to identify. No, you just standing on your square. You ain't
Hmm.
have nothing to do with them. You haven't moved in that particular way. I
Yeah,
would say, and especially when it comes to if of close circles, family and friends, baby, what else you gonna do? You gonna sit there and argue with them? No, you're
mm,
gonna present.
mm,
What is your characteristic? Because you
mm,
can allow other people to move your mountain if you want to.
hmm.
It's like somebody else rewriting your narrative.
Yes.
But we all have to go through it though, enough
Yeah.
times that we realize, you know what, I'm not even gonna let Uncle so and so or him move me or sway me. And when you get to that point, trust and believe it's still gonna keep going, but
Hmm.
it's gonna come in a different way. It's gonna come in a different form. And that breaks you into that self mastery of self, how to move. Because sometimes you use hands.
Mm.
Yep. That's even yourself. When you're growing, you go for hands. You know what I mean? You go hands
Hmm.
first. I went hands. What?
Hmm.
Oh, don't step in that. I'm gonna go hands. Yes, this is cute. This is elegant.
Don't
We
let the
can
look
do
fool
that.
you, boy, because people let the look fool you sometimes. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Don't walk in this place. Yes. No. Okay, we will go there. But then eventually you learn how to move right here. You get
Hmm.
very calculated in your moves.
Yes.
You
Yep.
become that sniper in the spirit realm. Then you learn to, it's what I teach often because I've had to do it several times. Ascend higher, almost
Mm.
like you're up looking down on yourself where you can see everybody else.
Hmm.
These games that are playing, you ascend higher. So
Mm.
when you walk into a room, you already know what you're walking into. Most of us already know who we're walking into and who we're walking around. So why
Mm.
wouldn't you gird your loins if you have to go in that space? If you
Yeah.
don't have to go in that space, that's when you know what? I call it attached in detachment.
Mm.
I love you, family. I love you, friends, but I don't have to be around you.
Mm.
I can love you from a distance,
Mm.
which is another reason why I left US as well. I can love you from a distance, baby. I don't have to be up in your face to love you. I don't have to be up in your face to send high regards to you, cover you, protect you, because I enter and understand through my walk that a spiritual thing is serious.
Mm.
Spiritual things do take place. So walking into a room full of people that have an inflated ego, if you want to call it that, why are you there?
Mm.
So you're either there to present something for them, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Like being that particular light to show them how to do it, how to use their ego, where their ego is there to protect and serve them when needed,
Mm.
or just their being that balance of both.
Mm.
Don't put yourself in those spaces if you don't have to. And then
Mm.
once it's presented to you, it's up to you to decide how you want the outcome to be.
Mm.
I used to go to a lot of social events, a lot of fashion social events. Everybody's ego is up, if you want to
Oh
say that.
yeah.
It's dressed up, it's flambe, it's da da da. Before I went, I would already set the atmosphere for what I wanted.
Mm.
So I started speaking. You know, when it's people planting seeds, sowing seeds.
Yeah.
Hello, men and
Yeah.
women, you can plant seeds, you can sow seeds. Okay,
Yes.
life and death is here in the tongue, but in the mind, you rule in here. So go
Yeah.
ahead and speak. Take time to do that. Throw that. You know, you got to be in a certain place at a certain time. And you know, it's going to be certain energies and vices. No different than us doing a live stream. The tribe is hot, heated, it's wonderful, but somebody may have some blockages, or somebody may not like what I'm saying, or you're saying, da da da. What we do, we sage before we do something. We sage so you can do that same thing day to day life. You know, you're going into a job that you really, these people are off the chain. I'm looking for the best way to get out of this situation. You need to start covering yourself. Cover yourself. So you've owned yourself. You own all your totality. You've forgiven yourself for all the bullshit because that's the other thing. The ego cannot be inflated if you have sat there and forgiven yourself for any mistakes that you have made, identifying yourself. So you own that. You've operated in that. Now you want to call things forth, life and death being in the tongue, cast your own self a spell, right? Do all that. Do all that. Speak before you get to that particular situation and watch how things move. And then you have to trust it. It's no different than asking for things that you want. You'd be like, okay, I want this and I want that. When do you go from asking and wanting to actually decreeing and saying it's so and operating like it is? Eventually, as you move through that, it's just what it is. The egos, they know they can't voice in front of you. They become laughable. They become laughable. Where you literally are just like, and you're about your business. They have to go and into another space and create that particular environment. That's what I've seen. I've watched it, men and women, men and women. Okay, how am I gonna handle this? We have
Mm.
a choice.
Yeah.
That's the we got the power to it.
Yeah.
So it depends on the situation. Now
Yeah.
you know, darn well, you ain't gonna let nobody walk up on you and lay hands.
Mm-mm.
Okay, we.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
But the way
Listen.
they coming to lay hands, baby, they sitting in the cut, riding over,
Listen.
plotting and scheming. You
Um,
smart as a wolf, right? But
my mom was
gentle as a dove.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. My mom was a pit bull, and and I'm a mama's boy. Proud too, you know. Yeah, but and then my spiritual mother, she's probably one of the most, if not the most powerful, fiercest warrior out there. So it's like that, yeah. So, anyways, the tribe is tribing, man. And I had somebody, I had a lot of good ones that I wanted to bring to the floor, but I don't know if I'll be able to get to everybody. But this one came earlier. So, how would
Mm.
you recommend in regards to Brother Joseph McDonald's comment?
I should. Okay, first and foremost, when we come the meditation and how to pray. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, let me speak on prayer first because that's the
Okay.
one generally most of us were raised with, and how to move through that. Um, the prayer first. What is your prayer about? That's the biggest thing. And
Right.
then you got to look in the context of why are you praying about this?
Mm.
Okay, so again, I did a lot of writing
Hmm.
for everything. That's another thing. When if you're dreaming, your thoughts, your ideas, write those things down, write them down, and
Mm.
start keeping your journal. The
Hmm.
depth of this, it comes back to you with wisdom therein. Okay, it comes back to you. Your dreams, interpretations don't look. I do a lot of that for people as well because I do a lot for myself. But you want to be able to take time for yourself. So what are you praying about? Why are you praying about it? How does that make you feel? So that's encompassed of you sitting with yourself, number one. Once you've prayed about it, okay? Once you've prayed about it, you shouldn't be repeating that same prayer. And I say you shouldn't be. It takes development. It does take development. I say you shouldn't be because then that means you don't believe it. If you don't have faith in it, that if you keep repeating the same prayer over and over again, what I start to assist people with is understanding that, okay, I'm going to do this prayer, and after I said this prayer, I'm going to walk in what many biblical places say, walk in the faith like it's already done. I'm going to act as if it's already done. And I've been in some treacherous stuff, and you be like, what the? Okay, I got to keep walking. I got to keep walking. Then you get to a point where, okay, it's still the load seems like it's heavy. Well, where is the load coming from? The load is coming from here. So in that action, now you need to make a decree. So here comes the positive side of having that ego. Here comes a decree that I'm like, no, prayer, it's already so. Now I'm making that decree. I'm letting you know it's right here. This is what this decree is. Okay. And writing this process for yourself is something that also helps stimulate that because you're writing, okay, this is what I said. I prayed for this. I said it so. So now look at your actions for yourself. You're creating this for yourself. Okay, so your prayer should lead into a decree. And in that decree, it should precede those actions that you are walking out, which makes you feel those things, which gives you that emotional intelligence to not be moved if something else is presented in front of you that is not what you would like. Then change your words. I went from saying I like, I want to desire, fulfillment. Change your words. You speak to yourself more than anybody in your life. So, what are you saying to yourself? After you walk through those stages, then you start to develop the in, innate ability to meditate. Okay, and now meditation goes into the form of different details based on the person that you're taught from or how you've customized it for yourself. I always tell people that it's necessary for you to get to a point where you've gone from prayer to decreeing to meditation, where you're not just sitting in with your mudras, your root chakras, sitting to a point where you can talk about all of your chakras and work through them, funnel love and light through them, but you're actually able to decree walking in a meditative state with your eyes open. Now, all this takes practice. It does take practice because you literally can see things happening in front of you. And most people get in an emotional state from that because they're so used to seeing just with their naked eye and not with a spiritual eye. Okay. What I was speaking about earlier, as far as why I left the States, because I could start to see with a spiritual eye by listening to what people were saying and watching the state that was happening around me. And it's like, wait a minute, if I'm going to a top job interview at a corporate and the person turns and looks at me and goes, uh, why did you bring Eve here? And I look around like, who the hell are you talking about? Eve? You could start to feel and sense because you're listening, but you're able to see because you're allowing yourself that state of movement. Again, we're gardens. How are you tending your own field? So that's man and woman. You are a freaking garden. This is an earthly suit. When the soul, the spirit leaves this, hello, this no more. It goes back to the earth. So how are you tending the garden that protects the inner soul? How are you dealing with that? So go from prayer. Okay. So even if you're not at prayer, because some people like, I don't pray, but pray. I don't see that working. How did that work for so and so? And how did it work? First, start with yourself, then look at yourself in the mirror and
Yeah.
actually tell yourself, you know what? I love you. That is, listen,
You,
that is one of the simplest things you think, but most people cannot stay in the mirror and say, I love you 10
listen.
times by
You,
themselves without a distraction.
you
Most
giving
people,
away all my private consultation secrets now.
okay.
No, but seriously, on a serious note, I promise you, like for real, when I'm talking to the youth or when I'm talking to like clients, like I that is like one of my I try to drill it home because who gonna love you like you? Who gonna love
Nobody.
you like you? Speaking of Master Yasir, I remember it wasn't the last time I interviewed him, but the time like a couple times ago, I remember him talking about he was about to I think he was saying like he's about to have his anniversary of Soul Fest, which is coming up in July. I got to share that in the channel comments or post or
Yes,
whatever. But
yes, yes.
he was saying in the middle of conversation too on the podcast, he was like, you know what, I might make myself the keynote speaker this year and celebrate myself because ain't nobody else gonna do it. I said, God, I was doing cartwheels, I was doing the Farrakhan phase, I was doing cartwheels and somersaults. I know that's right because man, I love to see somebody who loves them or gives
Me
themselves
too.
credit. I love it, man, because enough of us don't do it or we're not comfortable with it. Like it's something wrong with it. No, love you
Because
and
we
I
were
mean
taught
love you.
something.
Yes,
We were taught that that's being selfish. That's what. Are
yes,
you freaking kidding me? And that's why most of us are walking around with stuff that don't belong to us because we
yes,
didn't want to be selfish. We've taken on other people's baggage, not
yes,
dealing with our own baggage, walking around with a humped over shoulder. No,
yes.
mm-mm. I'm like all for people celebrating themselves. Are you kidding? You show me you celebrating yourself showing up. I'm just
Listen,
like right there, like, okay, come
yeah,
on, baby. I'll be so
I'm here for
groupie.
it.
Let's do this. Let's
I'm
do
here
this.
for it. I'm here for it.
Why?
Hmm.
Why that energy that you're giving out always returns back to you. It
That
never
part.
returns void. As you would know, even being a consultant, a teacher, hello, you have to give off that very thing. If you give off that very thing, it's going to return back to you, and it's going to expand even greatly.
It's contagious.
That is it. It
It's
feels
contagious.
so good, even in the set of me when I first started modeling, and I was teaching all these young ladies to do certain things that they were able to go out and land major contracts. The
Mm,
first couple times I was going to, I was like, wait a minute, excuse me,
mm.
was I able to teach you how to do that? And uh,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
There was many parables in that. Her
Yes.
skin color, where she went, da 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 da. But does that make me less than?
Mm,
No, 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 that don't make me less than. Okay, wait a minute. So that means I have to learn how to use my gift in a different and more effective way to the best of my ability, and then survey the land. Survey the land that I'm putting myself in. So I chose this field that you don't see too many of us in. Why did I choose that field? There's a walk, there's a certain thing. So you choose that field. These are things that you get to do. But in my overall assisting, teaching, and edifying people, period, men and women, the depth is I get so much more back by watching somebody actually go through the process, get it, and return it. And it's just like, oh, this is what I'm talking about. This this popping right here. This is how we roll. This is how we roll, honey. Because we can be dressed up or dressed down, but you still gonna get that same dependable, resilient spirit that's showing up.
yes.
That that's fire. I don't
Yeah.
care who you are. That's fire. Hands,
Yeah.
you can be purple with dots. I'm
Yes.
seeing you rock for yourself. I'm
Yeah.
looking at you like I have to respect it.
Yeah.
I got to respect that.
Yes.
Now, some people, of course, they may not want to, but that's them dealing with their own imbalance.
F them people.
But I got time. I don't have time. I did that already. You feel me? You
Yeah.
do something enough where you the people pleaser, where you want to make sure everybody good,
Yeah.
and you end up being the blame for
Yeah.
everything. No, baby.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's over. That journey's over, everyone. Let's just keep it 100.
Mm-hmm.
Love people from afar. They get
Mm-hmm.
too close and they trying to shadow or block your this
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
People from afar. And you have to be able. Now, back to the gentleman that said earlier, the prayer into the meditation. Once you start moving through those steps and you get to that meditative state where I say with your eyes open,
Mm-hmm.
like literally, that's when you're able to see beyond sight line. You're not seeing with your naked eye. You're meditating because you're constantly affirming thyself that this is who I am. This is how I walk. This is how I move. This is, and then your ego now becomes the protector and the servicer of you. So when you walk into a room, you're not coming in with the ego. You're coming in with protection. You're coming in with that solitude. So now that meditation, how has tapped you into your divine source, yourself. So your eyes are open. You can walk in a room and channel. Boop, here we go. You already know who's here, who's not here. And I don't mean in detail what they look like, da da da. And sometimes it can, based on who you are and what you're dealing with. You'll know somebody's in a room or just left, this sort of thing. But I'm talking about being able to see beyond the physical and seeing the spirits that are in the room. Now, that's the deal that I got to enter and understand and walk through after going through all of these religious houses as a young girl, and then later spirit taking me back into those houses before I left the US, all these other houses to say and proclaim certain things. And of course, again, I had to be able to do that by myself. I had to be able to save thyself. I had to be able to work on thyself. I had to own my own bullshit. I had to forgive myself so I can move in these spaces and spirit, divine source, could trust me with being able to deliver that which is needed to be delivered. That you're able to, if I say, meaning thyself, the higher self, I need you to sit down right here, go into a meditative state, and everybody else is standing. Are you willing to do that? That's you being able to own up to thyself. That's you being able to show thyself that you're loyal, you're worthy enough to walk your life purpose and path, and you're able to take these steps, whether it's first starting in the mirror, looking at yourself, saying, I love you, going into a prayer, then taking that prayer into a decree, and then walking it out into a walking meditative state of who you be. So you're standing on your square, seated on your throne, ruling by your mind and moving in your own expectation.
We're gonna have to get a water
Okay.
hose in here because you look, you burning things. You burning
Okay.
things up. Look, listen. Oh man, listen. I don't want to get in
Okay.
the way. Look, I don't want to get in the way. I'm gonna pop in and drop a question. I'm gonna pop back. Listen, I'm not about to try to ruin somebody when they're in the zone. I'm about to get out the way. Move.
I'm
Look,
stable love. No, spirit just move. The spirit, it's time for people's liberation. Real
yeah,
talk.
yeah, for real.
It's time for you to liberate thyself, you know?
Yeah,
Of course, we do not forsake a congregation, a tribe, a nation. We should not. We
yeah,
should be able to walk alongside each other and edify each other, gird it up. But we got to be able to walk within ourselves, because
yeah,
one solid imbalance meets with another and it spreads. That's
yeah.
straight fire.
Oh yeah,
And source can use us. Channel, spirit, your ancestors, they can use you. Like, you don't know why you just did that, but you do know why you just did it.
oh yeah,
Because you allowed yourself to be a clear channel.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Divine.
Listen. Shout out to let me find it. Shout out to Emperor of Truth. We appreciate the super chat family. We definitely appreciate that and the support for the whole tribe for that matter. But we appreciate the super chat too, family. But nah, yeah, this is real. So excuse me, with you being, well, first of all, her namesake, the mother of mothers, especially from the Yoruba Patreon. I mean, I'm sorry, Yoruba faith system.
Mhm,
That's very, very, very powerful. I mean, very powerful deity, like very powerful. And I've had the opportunity to be um,
mhm,
in sacred rooms where the consecration of bringing to life of Imoja and the
mhm,
priestly order. I've been blessed to be a part of it, and it's powerful. It is beyond powerful. Actually, it's profound, and I give thanks for that opportunity, but I also give thanks for this opportunity, because I remember when we spoke initially on the first meet and greet, you spoke about this thing that I think I have a little bit of familiarity with, portals. You mentioned
Mm,
portals, which I already know.
mm,
Some of those things have already come to pass, even if it hasn't materialized for the physical realm to see. I know spiritually, I've seen it just from the comments alone on this episode, which I knew this is what it would be. But when it comes to this thing that we call portals, or that we know of portals,
mm,
excuse me, water, as far as I know, might be the most powerful, profound conduit or portal that we know, or
mm,
that I personally know of, on the planet Earth. And I know for a fact there is no other force that's more powerful than water on the planet Earth. And no, I don't
mm.
want no problems with Imoja, with Yamaya, with Olokun. Like, man, listen. So, so we're gonna talk about forces, and we're gonna talk about power, and we're gonna talk about portals. Can you kind of
But
share with us the significance of water?
mm,
We talk about this thing
mm.
called portals, like water, and how
Woo.
powerful it is, as a conduit or as a portal. Ashe.
Mm, mhm. Wow. Oof. Water. Oof. Ooh, what a what a frequency that is. Like for real time. I mean, what is it? We're what, 75%, something like that, of water. We're made up of water. Okay.
On deck.
Hello. The depth of the one thing that I will say this, it's quite interesting that water looks blue when it's actually clear.
Hmm, hmm. And you know what's dope about that? The shades and the hues of blue, because the shade and hue of blue in Cozumel is different than the one in Cancun, and it's also different from the one in St. Thomas, and it's also different from the one like when you're deep at sea,
Yes.
because the color that I've seen, like on cruises when we're deep at sea, is literally the color of your attire, literally,
Yep.
and it has the beautiful white, caps that come up just like your beads. So it's like, but then
Yep.
when you go, especially in like the tropical areas of the planet, like it's gorgeous. Like Turks and Caicos has some of the most beautiful water I've ever seen in my. It doesn't even look real to me. I thought the
Yeah.
Bahamas was dope, and no disrespect to the Bahamas, because that is beautiful water too. But the Turks and
It's
Caicos water is like, oh my god.
beautiful. Like crystal. When we talk about water, well, there's so much that I'm gonna go to the feminine side of this, meaning that uh, um, the woman she has two, and I beg to differ, three wombs. Okay, let me just
I'm about
the
to pop
fact that
out.
we the fact that all of us sit in water and blood because we all come through a womb. So let's start there first. We actually come through a womb that you got to have. There's water there, but we're in that incubator. So us being in that particular state, we're used to having emotional interaction before we're able to even walk. So now we come out and we're now made up of that water. We have to learn how to breathe in, or let's say, on walking land in the earth, because we're encompassed and embodied by water for what, 9 months. So we already have our a sense of emotional balance based on where the woman is. So the importance of being that mother, the importance of having that emotional intelligence to be able to comfort and console thyself first before you give birth to someone else. Because that's the essence of very much who you are and who you need to be. The embodiment of that is as you step out, now you become the water. So everything that you deal with, whether good or bad, is written on your memory, but it's actually contained within your body, the mind that carries that water. So here comes the emotions. Here comes the memories, good or bad. You're carrying that. You're literally walking around like you're a water bottle. And we don't really take time to bear witness to that. We have to realize oftentimes we'll go through something bad first, um, and then we realize the importance of something. So look at the polar opposites. We have to have one to understand the other, or vice versa. The water that we carry within our DNA is a memory code. It is a memory. So everything that you experience, you're going to actually encode it. It's going to be encoded within your lifespan. And you have to be the one to rewrite the code, change the narrative. And that's the power of water in this suit. Let's not even start to speak about it. Externally, you're literally carrying around a whole bunch of water. You're carrying around that water. So, what are you doing with it? What are you imprinting? What are you writing on that so you can move through and navigate? Now, you take the external water, now you take this external water, and now you drink of it. Okay, so what you're drinking, it's encoded. The power of that encoding of water. Then you think about it and you have to put that on your body, which is the biggest organ we have is our body. Now we're washing our body with water. Water is so intertwined in our life and the least respected. It is the least respected. Uh, and so in that particular process, it's something that we all go through and we learn in our own stages. There's not there's nothing more that I can really add to water, but it's life itself. That's how we came. That's how it started. You started coming from that water and blood wound. That's how you came. That's what we're operating in. And when I think of water, I always think about the emotional intelligence. It's emotional intelligence, state, period. A woman herself, she moves through a lot of emotions. Then, if you add on zodiac signs, then you add on trauma, then you add on high regard things, thriving, this sort of water, absolute water. What does she do? How are you able to nourish somebody? By giving them water. But how do you do that? Is it an action? Sometimes. Usually it's with the mouth. You're watering somebody. So water expands beyond its own substance. It expands beyond its own substance. Okay? Water is not just water, and that's the part that I always tell people to think outside of the box, go beyond, be willing to ask questions. You know, most of us were told don't ask no questions, but when you don't ask questions, you make a fool out of yourself, honey. You better ask them damn questions. But water is way beyond. Air literally moves like it's water. We can't see it, but it's flowing in us, through us, around us, to us, for us, and by us. Water is the same thing. We are a living, walking water bottle.
Mm.
What you doing with your emotional intelligence? That's how powerful water is. It doesn't just cleanse the external; it cleanses the internal too.
I sure. That was powerful. Man, that's a mic drop right there. that was dope. Excuse me. That was
It
dope.
is.
You said something, huh?
Water is definitely it's you can't really it's kind of like air. It
Yeah.
is,
No, it is. I
you
don't know. Yeah. But when you said something, I didn't want to interrupt, but I'm sitting in the backstage. I'm like, yo, this shit is crazy. But when you said something about when we speak to people, we speak on people or whatever, like you said something like in regards of we're watering other people.
yes,
That one
most definitely.
that went deep for me. That went real deep for me because that's another common theme or common I would say message that comes up when I'm in the process of like working with people one on one. It's like, what's the difference between a raindrop and the ocean, right?
Mm, mm,
There is no
mm,
difference
mm,
because the raindrop came from the ocean in some shape, form, or fashion, and the ocean is the
mm.
vast wholeness of the creation of the
Exactly,
raindrop. So now we're
exactly.
looking at it. If you look at it from a cosmic level, the cosmos, the universal ocean, universal,
Mm,
uni, You and
Mm.
I versus
Say it. Say it.
internal, get rid of the skin suit, soul,
Say
right?
it.
When we get to the planet, the mother, okay, but the mother is how many percentage of water,
Ooh.
right?
Okay.
Oh, we don't even got to go into the percentage, but the body is how many percentages of water?
Exactly.
And so,
Exactly.
in Yoruba tradition, and hell, you can even go into the streets, whatever way you
Yes.
want to go. Pop said, "Pour out a little liquor." Okay, but in the
Yes.
spiritual traditions, every
Yep.
single sacred thing that we do, if
Yes.
you want to do it right, if you know how to do it right, you start with what we call omitutu or
Let's
H2O
see.
or water.
Yep. Most definitely. And we
Hmm.
move through that. But why water? It holds an emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
Speak in it, we come through it, we use it, and it's almost like it's everlasting, it's continuous. That nothing can grow without having this element of water.
Mm,
But the biggest thing is it holds an emotional intelligence.
mm,
It holds it. And we walk around on 2 feet like we completely forgot that we're walking around as water, and we're storing whatever we've been through, whatever we choose to hold on to, because oftentimes we can go through things and we're still holding on to that. We're still holding on to it. Well, where's it at? We're holding it within the mind, the casing in the mind, but it's permeating throughout the whole body because you're walking and carrying that particular thing. Another reason why it's important for you to go ahead and release that doesn't service your highest good. And that can literally be a simple thought. It can be mediocrity. It could be holding on to a person who's no longer near you, whether they've transcended or they moved to another place, another time. You know what I mean? They're on something else. You holding on to that, you're holding that emotional intelligence within the water that is contained within your own vessel. Now, if you want to go out and pour that out onto someone else, you also must understand that you're pouring whatever you have in you onto them. And you're pouring it on them by your mouth, by thinking a thought, by moving. And then when you use water to cleanse the body, you're also have to realize you need to cleanse the soul. So how do you do that? Because that's internal. Water makes up so much of our life, and it is an incredible emotional intelligence. It's like doing those spiritual baths. Let's keep it 100. For myself, when you do a spiritual bath, beloved, you can customize that bath towards yourself, but that is you going back into that womb, that wonder womb that you came out of, sitting in that bathtub. Now you go ahead and you stir up something for the self. That's like you rebirthing yourself, or as they would say, resurrecting thyself. Sitting in that spiritual bath, program that water. What are you programming that water to do for the physical casing? Are you just cleansing the area, just, your biofield, your aura, your energy, that sort of thing? Or are you speaking to that water? So when I sit in that spiritual bath, I'm calling forth all that I know services my liberation. I'm bringing in the Orisha Yamaya. I'm calling forth that. I'm speaking to thyself. That is me sitting in a meditation. So don't box yourself in to one way of doing something because you're not one way. You're multidimensional. So use the water that you breathe. Yes, that's air, honey. That's water. It's flowing through you. And the water that's in you, as we are earth, wind, fire, wind, hello, thought, mind, wind, fire, the fire that beats in us, the bloodline. And we are water. These are elements that we make up. We've been taught that everything is so external of thee. But first, let's rock with internally. Well, let's walk with this. This is us. So in those baths, in the shower, because you can't take a shower too. When you take a shower, be more intentional with it. When that water hits you, what are you saying? What are you doing? But the spiritual baths, men and women, sit in a spiritual bath, a tub, program that water. You can get, I know nowadays you see it everywhere, like people with flowers, crystals, this, that. I say, honey, customize it to yourself. But the biggest thing you do is you sit in that womb. That's a womb. Sit in that womb and program, meditate, call that self forth so you can walk out. that fish out of water, so to speak. You out of the water now. Now you're on land. What you gonna do? So it's gonna carry those memories for you. So spiritually, yes, we pour out lamentations, libations for our ancestors, divine source. We set things in water. But when that water is there, how are you gonna use it? How are you gonna use it? So okay, I'll use it to cook. I'll use it to drink. I'll use it to take a bath. I'll use it to spray somebody. I'll use it to jump in a pool. So what are you doing with the water that resonates within you? Go beyond. Go beyond, beloveds. It's going to carry you a longer way. And it may sound weird and just like, oh, so I ain't doing that. You're going to find a reason to, you know? It is the story of our lives. Let's put it that way. You know? That emotional intelligence is whatever you choose to allow it to be. Water. But water yourself and your divinity because you're holding the water within you. I always tell people you're your walking altar, honey. You can build an altar externally, but you the altar internally. What you doing? What you building on your altar? So I have water on my altar. You do all that. What you doing here? What about here? A walking altar. You put your water. What are you doing with the water? The memory codes. What you doing with it? Some of those things we have to allow it to go. And usually I would say this, beloved, most people don't want to allow those things to go because they've gotten comfortable with those old things that is programmed within the water, that's within themselves, within their makeup. So how can they see the value of water that's external then? Most people don't.
Mm. Yeah.
most people don't want to let go of that. They like that water that they got holding on inside of them.
Yeah.
Mad, but they like it. So they
Yeah.
hold on to it. The biggest thing is they're afraid to let that go.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
that go, baby. Just don't let that go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny because that's another one of the yeah, that's another one of the excuse me, elements, or I should say like metaphors that spirit gave to me in regards to the one-on-one consultations is like when people are
Mm,
dealing with or moving through situations like you said that no longer serve them. My thing is like I look at it like a pool of cancer, right? Why would you want to swim in a pool of cancer? That's not going to
mm,
that's only going to
mm,
bring you down. That's going to drown you. That's going to drown all the life force, all the everything up out of you. Climb up out of
most
that
definitely.
pool, step up on the side of it, go wash off with some good, clean, holy Emoji water, and then
Ashe.
step away and don't ever go back to that pool because it's not serving you. And you can't.
Yes.
We live in the present and we're preparing to live in the future. We can't do anything about the past if we wanted to. So why should we allow the cancerous environments that we were submerged in to affect our presence or our future when we have the ability to climb up out of it and wash off with that good holy Emoja water? Like that's just my little 2 cents.
But haven't you found? Okay, this is what I found. The depth of you just even saying there, the past, the present. You were mentioning those. Um, what I found is simply that most people carry, and all of us do this, but it's how it resonates. Most people
Hmm.
carry the past, the present, and the future all together
Hmm.
and one time. Okay, and without having balance in that, then you'll be like this. Okay, and it can extend from thoughts, which let's go. That's going back to the water because it's a memory code, right? The water is a memory code. So in that particular side for the self, I always say to people, you need to be able to look at the past. The Bible when they're talking about, okay, what's her name? She turned back and she turned to a little pillar of salt. Just turn back and look. The depth of it needs to be expanded on. If you look back, you need to be able to look back at that which you came from to learn the lessons from there, pick those things up, use those as tools so that in your present state, because you are in a meditative state where everything is intentional, you will take that particular position and own every movement that you make so it precedes the future that you desire as your fulfillment. This is an operation that most of us, we cut off in some form because maybe something that happened to you in the past is still hurting you. You're still feeling, you're not healed from it. You haven't forgiven yourself for the role you played in it. But we have to be able to look at our past, own it, pick it up, grab it, not put it on your back and hold you down, but grab it, observe it, look at it, cut the cords from which doesn't service you in that. Keep what does, put it in your pocket, stand in your present state, and then operate from here intentionally so it precedes yourself forward into your future. And that's based on you being able to be within yourself because we do carry the past, the present, and the future all in one casing right now. Right now. You're doing it right now. You are doing it literally right now. I'm like, well, no, it's no, baby. Tomorrow is how you see it right now. We got to be able to use that water and master that in a movement, in a time and place. That's what happens if you think about the woman and she has the baby, right? 9 months. What's happening?
Yeah.
They give you, a certain date to look for this child to come. But what's happening during that process? The
Mm.
water's going, the blood's going, memory codes are being activated already. You're moving through it emotionally intelligent, whether the mama is doing things that is good for the baby or not for the baby, blah, blah, blah. What she eating, how she thinking, how she sleeping, all of that's getting, now, now the baby's coming out. The baby's coming out with what? And then there's a DNA code that's already in the blood and the water. It's we and literally carrying the past, the present, and the future all in the same time. But we've been taught to separate them.
Mm.
And we do it sometimes separating because of the trauma that we've gone through. But that's you doing your own shadow work. That's you working through those particular issues, owning your own bullshit and
Mm.
being willing to face that. Being really willing to face that. Oh my God. Yes. Most of us don't want to really face it.
Mm.
The attraction, the balance of even being attracted to a male or female. I know I would kind of get into trouble, and I say that
Nope.
lightly, with the men and women, but especially when it came more to the women, because I would be the balance between a room full of men and women, because the men would say, well, you know what, women are blah, 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 and I would be like, yeah, they right. And the women would be looking at me like, are you mad? No, that it's because the men are blah blah blah. And I'm just like, no, baby. There was something about this man that you were attracted to. There was something about him that you were attracted to. So you gotta own that. Okay, he might have did this, and that, but you were attracted to this, so you gotta own that. You can't blame him for that particular part because you agreed to it. And man, you were attracted to her. What were you attracted to? Own your shit. You were attracted to that because it just looked cute and you thought, okay, big booty, smile, whatever. Okay, she can cook. You didn't look deeper, right? So you got to own that shit. People have to own those particular sides. Now look at how if you own your sides, both sides, male and female, it brings you into a balance. I had to own the sides of the men that I had dealt with before. And then once you start owning it, then you start realizing, you know what, I can't just be loosely giving up the goods to this person or that person. I can't just be loosely doing that because now I'm taking on their DNA, their emotional intelligence, their whole, and especially as a woman, you got a portal. Come on now. Just it's like you walk and breathe in portal. So you're gonna take on that. And a man, don't get it twisted, just because you don't have a physical portal, don't mean your aura and your energy and your palace cannot be embodied and put on a protective cover to protect you from getting someone pregnant. Oh, you get that invisible cover of that energy of the woman you just slept with. You better
Yes.
get yourself checked. The balance. The
That part.
balance.
That part.
The balance.
Yeah.
Why am I attracted to a man that is like this? Somewhere the masculine side of me within myself is out of whack. Or I just like that. Well, I have to own that. I have to that comes with looking in that mirror. Why do I like that woman that's like this? You know what? She look fine and everything, but she off the chain. What? Well, you gotta look at yourself, baby. What you been around? Why you like it? Why you embody? I see your neck twisted. Why you embodying that? Your feminine side is not in check. It's not in check. So we again, it all still comes back to us starting with the self. It does come back to that. Then we take on everybody else. And once we take on everybody else, then we're taking on everything else that they have. So first learn to manage thyself before you manage everybody else. But those spiritual contracts, because that's basically what I was talking about. We're talking about sexual exchange and all that other stuff. That's a spiritual contract. Verbalizing over somebody is a contract. Y'all making an agreement as a contract. These are things that you can't see technically. You see the actions or the response of those things that you've made a contract with. So there's a lot of intertwining of this. That's why it's such a great importance for us to enter and understand who we are first. Love on ourselves first. Take time to really cut away those things, whether it be family and friends. And then, yes, it may seem hard. And I mean, people thought I was crazy. I'm gonna put you in a nut farm. They want to put me away for that. Literally, they wanted to put me away for that. Like, are you crazy? My son ascended, and what happened? They were like, why you got so much peace? But they didn't see me go through all the depths of what I went through before they got there. You feel? It's a walk. This is no joke. This is just not okay. Well, I'm gonna just be, spiritual on Saturday, or no. This is a continued walk. It is a continued walk. You walk out your perfection. You walk out your perception. You can walk out a narrative, but that's based on you. It can be somebody else's narrative or the one you created yourself.
Mm. Yeah, listen.
I like that. I like that bad thing.
My back was itching. That's what that was. I don't know. That wasn't no smooth move. At least not from my perspective. Look, man, listen.
Say, beloved, seriously,
Yeah, nah, this
seriously.
was this was everything I knew it would be. It was magical, and like it's just so divine the alignment, man. Because it really is.
Giving,
Huh?
I said I'm giving thanks, most definitely.
No, I'm giving thanks. Because I shared a little bit about how the alignment of Emoji, appeared in my life recently, from a spiritual level with you and
Hmm.
the heiress. And it was like, and then there was another divine alignment that took place between from that meeting to setting up this podcast until now to see like the alignments. And it's just like there's no mistaking. And I'm gonna say this
No,
emphatically and humbly. And then I'm gonna give it to you to share to leave us off with. But there's no mistaking the divinity and the divine in this thing that we call time, because we've talked about the mothers for, I want to say, a lot. Well, from day one, it started with my spiritual mother, but I mean, literally on April 8th, 2024, this podcast started with my spiritual mother, but we've talked about the mothers extensively in the last 6 to 8 weeks. Even one of the
mm,
biggest shows was called Mama Geddon, right? And I've seen some of the tribe who's been with us during that time speak very powerful affirmations about the presence of the mothers.
mm,
But this one, I think, is the one. I don't think this one is the one that I know that's going to put in the activation code of all that is,
mm,
all that was, and all that is and ever will be in regards to us as a people spiritually, throughout this whole entire galaxy, universe, multiverse, whatever you
mm,
want to call it. And I give
mm,
thanks for that. I really truly do, because it has been nothing short of divine. But with that, I remember the
mm,
movie
mm,
Look Who's Talking. And I remember, I think
mm.
what was his name? Bruce Willis, I think, was the character, that little baby in that movie. Look Who's Talking. And so for me, those who've been rocking with me, no matter how long, you have new, old, whatever, I talk about being a mama's boy and all that there. So shout out to all my mamas. Shout out to you. Shout out to Unam. Shout out to, all the mothers who graced this show. Shout out to the mothers who blessed me with children. Shout out to the mothers who blessed me with love. Shout out to all the mothers from, as above. But with that, I want to give it to you to leave us off with whatever it is that the mothers, are going to speak through you. But the one thing I'm going to say is we started with Mama Geddon on a very special date. And then now I'm going to say, look who's talking.
Oh, Ashe, love. Oh, this is really good. And on so many levels. Yeah, on so many levels. It's one thing to actually have a gift, regardless of who you are and what it is that you're gifted in. Uh, but it's another thing to be able to own that gift where it's gone through the fire for yourself. And then being able to share that very gift with other people that will impact their lives and have them come to a conclusion for themselves to walk their life purpose and their path. When I think of mothers, I just really, there's such an intentional way of thinking of mother. I was birthed into, I always say this, especially to um, those that I consult. My mother was my physical mother, okay? Spirit, of course, spirit to spirit, she birthed me. And she was a young mother. And I remember oftentimes she would say to me, it's like you're the mother. And I would be like, huh? I wouldn't get it. And then later, what I realized going through the walk, as I said, dealing with different women of different ages, backgrounds, that sort of thing, Source came to me and said, I've made you a mother. Your mother used to tell you that. And the wisdom that you had is because you allowed yourself to go through. Yet I still held my mother in. I've realized more and more that I was made a spiritual mother because I was told that, you're going to have a lot of daughters, a lot of sons and daughters. And I was like, huh? I just had 2 twins. I ain't having a whole tribe of people. What you talking about? And that was me in my immature state. And then I realized, wow, spiritually, I've been made a mother. You're a mother. You're a mother in many aspects. You're a mother whether you are speaking to a family friend. You're a mother if you're speaking to your girlfriend, your father.
Oh no. I think you muted. I think you muted, Empress. I don't know what happened. Can you hear me? What? Hold on 1 second. Try it. We're gonna finish this thing out. For some reason, it says that you muted on the
Okay, are you there?
Now we hear you. Now we hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So where it went out is where you were saying that you were told that you was a mother, a spiritual mother, and then you would have a lot of spiritual daughters and sons, and then it cut out, and then but we hear you now. So if you okay, I'm gonna jump back on.
So I was told that being made a mother. Okay, you're a mother regardless of you speaking to whomever, because you're birthing with your mouth. A woman having multiple wounds. Okay, there's a wound first, of course, physical. There's a wound that is spiritual, then mental, and then you have a wound here. I like to call this a wound because we can speak life and death here. All right. The depth of it is, as a mother, you're not just birthing physically, you're birthing spiritually. I got to enter and understand that because of the walk that I went through with my own mother, who was a young mother. And she taught me how to cook, clean, to fight for the self, to this and that. But she didn't take time for her spiritual life, her spiritual self. She did the best that she could do. But what I realized at her continuously saying that, because I ate of what she gave me, I sat at the feet of other women and I took and absorbed that thing. But what I got to see was I became a spiritual mother because I allowed myself to go through to be liberated in the essence of who I'm meant to be. And that's what I would say about any mother, because unfortunately, just because you have a womb does not make you a mother in every aspect, because we can physically birth a lot of things. Men can birth things with their mouth, right? But what defines the mother as a mother? It's truly her carving out and mothering herself first through different situations. Now, of course, when you birth a child, you're going to walk through another realm. I always say, listen, how could I have become a mother had I not birthed children? But not just physically, I had to first birth thyself that I would even be able to birth children. Because that's a whole walk right there, to be able to birth something physical, and then to water that child, and then to be able to water thyself and manage. You first must mother thyself before you mother anybody else. So take care of self, mothers. You're going to do the best that you can do, but first service you, and then service all of those that are around you. Mothers are meant to be a standard. They're meant to be the teacher. They're the healers. They're the nurturers. I mean, they're women first and foremost. The depth of that is sometimes we can be wives, because not every mother has become a wife. You know, and that's the part that I got to see, you know, I've gotten to live through. So as a mother, your accountability first is to you. Then you service everyone else. So that which you do for yourself is only natural for you to do for everyone else. So first start with the self before you become a mother. But when you become a physical mother, realize that you're not just a physical mother, you're a spiritual mother too. And that's the biggest thing that I got to see in my particular walk, and why I was looking and I would go from different cities and women were coming up to me and saying, oh, I saw you in a dream and you were this and you were that. And I'm like, what is going on here? I had to take into account that I was actually mothering myself, even in the essence of not knowing everything. But I allowed myself to walk the walk, walking out my perfection, walking in that. And still, it allows you to expand. So being a mother, you hold a very sacred space, period. It's period. You hold a sacred space. But being a spiritual mother, that is beyond anything that you could physically do. It really is. And that's the power, because even nowadays you can see how they're trying to shift the power, and some men are becoming women and this and that. It just, women, stand on your square, be seated on your throne, and rule by your mind. Okay? Rule by the mind. Keep that loving heart. But you have to be able to birth yourself before you can birth anyone else. That's what I would say about mothers. That's what I've gotten to see in my life's journey and purpose and path. You're made a mother because you're able to mend, heal, continue to be a standard, help edify, correct when necessary, protect when necessary, anybody, even if you didn't physically have them. That's the depth of being a mother. You can water anybody, honey. You can water anybody. You can will them back if they're willing to take and eat of the food that you sup. So no longer just from the physical breast, but from the mouth, the tongue, how she speaks. Eat of her from there. This is what I would say about mothers. I love you. My mother has ascended just recently, and it's a big thing that all of us have to realize. That's one thing all of us are going to do. We're all going to ascend one day, right? But the depth of what I've gotten to see over the course of my life and looking at others is that as a mother, it never stops. Even though they celebrate it one day of the year, honey, Mother's Day is every day, just like Father's Day is every day. You can't have one without the other. And having my mother ascend and sit with my grandmother, it's a powerful thing to be able to move in that essence, being able to send that ancestral money, being able to be in a place where you can hear and know that it is them, that which moves beyond in a different time and space. That's mothering. Me taking the time to look at my daughter, my children, and be able to go, listen, I'm going to speak over their life. I'm going to water them every way I can. The biggest one is me being, but the external is me watering them with words, edifying that which is servicing their highest good, pushing them to go beyond. And sometimes pushing them means keeping the mouth completely quiet, letting them move in their own atmosphere and making their own mistakes. You have to be able to be a physical and spiritual mother to bring a divine balance. And that balance starts with you. So mothers, love on yourself, and I'll love on you too, both near or far. And this is how we'll see the world start to change back to a more pleasant and beautiful reality. Truly. And you can identify the men that actually love their mothers and how they're going to treat you. What they say about their mother, trust and believe they're going to say about you. A mother. I love you. I love you. I love you. Truly. Mm.
Yeah, this was amazing. So I'm
Oh, chaperone.
I'm gonna be obedient and listen to the mothers as a self-proclaimed mother's boy. But I'm gonna share a couple of these comments real quick, and then it's so amazing how spirit works. Like it really is. But like I said, I knew from the meeting, the introduction meeting. It was funny. I remember taking notes on that call. Look, and because of those who know me and know me well, they know I don't want no problems. But I was taking notes during the introductory call. I'm like, hey, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm just letting you know I'm not being disrespectful, texting on my phone and all that. I'm taking notes because there's some things I want to talk about.
Yes.
But I want to be clear with that. But Spirit spoke something on me that I figured that it's so funny because I didn't even have this thought going into the call, but like literally as you was sharing your final thoughts with us, man, which was beautiful. Spirit spoke to me to let a lot of people, or for that matter, let the world know about who and what I see the mothers as, and what that means to me. So with that, if it's cool with you, I would love to leave off with signing off with a spoken word piece that I wrote that I don't think I've ever shared on this platform, but I've shared it before, but not on this one. But I would love to walk off with that one, man, because this was definitely special. I knew it would be. And I give thanks to you, the heiress, for making the connection, and for all of the divinities aligning this thing to take place tonight. And I look forward to it. I'm gonna do something. I hope I don't get in trouble for it later, but I'm gonna say I hope to get you in the private community to do some private community calls, and definitely to have you back, on the channel to do this again, because this was amazing. So I look forward to it.
I stay behind.
I shall. And I'm gonna share the the website, the YouTube channel, your social medias, your platforms, everything in the show description, so they can connect with you. And I'll definitely look forward to seeing when we can do this again. But with that, I give thanks, man. I would love to sign off with this piece right here, dedicated to you and all the mothers, and even the title of the show, The Return of the Mother of Mothers, Yamaya Emoja. And then shout out to all my mothers. Shout out to the Mama Geddon show that we did. Shout out to the brother Steve Rise and Bidel, who was there on that show. Shout out to Wunam. Shout out to the whole tribe, everybody who's been with us from day one, man. I appreciate everybody. Shout out to Yay. So with that, I'm gonna dedicate this to all the mothers. And yeah, man, shout out to Pac and Afeni Shakur, because I did put up a show also called The Tribute to the Mothers, Dear Mama, Tribute to Pac and his mama. yeah, so that's real for us here. So with that, this piece right here was inspired by the mothers. It's called Goddess of the Universe. So I'll share this, and then we'll see y'all on the next episode, Tribe. But with that, thank you. I appreciate the man. It was an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, here we go, family.
Yes, give it to us. Let's hear it.
Queen of the earth, goddess of the universe. It is you who God chose to bring life into this earth. You bring cosmic energy from the divine. Yes, it was you first. We all originated in your womb. You gave us water and shelter like a holy cocoon. Without you, there would be no us. Mothers, daughters, sisters, queens, and don't forget the goddess, indigos, millennials, melanated crystals, sisters to be celebrated. We are here to uplift you, to love and respect you, to honor and protect you. Queen of the earth, goddess of the universe. My love for you inspired me to write this verse. You're all phenomenal. I want you to know your worth and keep your head up and never forget. You are the queen of the earth, goddess of the universe.
Ooh.
I say.
I received
that. Yeah, man. It's been a long time since I did that one, but yeah. But no, I really do. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate you coming through and doing what you do. And yeah, I look forward to doing it again.
You too, beloved. You know, we balance each other, baby. We balance each other, you know, externally, and then we're balanced internally. All divine gratitude, much success, beloved, much expansion, but deeper clarity, more for your vision, coverage over your family, beloved. All that centers and focus around you. May you have the fulfillment that which your heart desires, not a want, not a like, but a desire of your fulfillment. And may you continue, and those that precede you and those that will absolutely listen and in tune with you, hear the very words that proceed off your mouth, your aura, your energy, and that they would know that they can do that too. I say ashe to you, divine masculine. May your dreams come true. You hear me? I love you. Te quiero mucho, beloved. Te quiero mucho.
Ashe. Love you too, mama. Appreciate you, Tribe. I love all y'all too, man. I definitely appreciate the love.
Thank you, love.
Yeah, this was phenomenal, man. I definitely appreciate it, man. I look forward to doing it again. So,
me too.
Thank you for tuning in, family. Please like, share, subscribe. We'll see y'all on the next episode. We are out. Peace. Odabo.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé ṣàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sí ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́. Forsake not your ancestors and praise your